Hi guys, I'm Janika Hanford with Hanford Hacks, and today I decided to do a video exclusive around VTSAX. It's one of my more popular investment choices that I make in the stock market, and so I really wanted to kind of share this information. I've personally been investing in VTSAX since about 2012, and it's been a very good investment for me. And so I want to talk a little bit more about it and some of the factors that I look at in determining what's a good investment in the stock market. So to begin, VTSAX, which is spelled VTSAX, it's an acronym that stands for Vanguard Total Stock Market Index Fund Admiral Shares. VTSAX is essentially an index fund to track the performance of the entire United States stock market. And so even when just talking about that, I want to make sure that my viewers are aware of what is a mutual fund. Well, a mutual fund is nothing more than a portfolio of many different stock markets that you can purchase together. And then an index fund is nothing more than a mutual fund that's created to reflect a larger market. So another way to look at this is that VTSAX is a collection of many stocks that track the American stock market as a whole. VTSAX is one of the largest funds in the world, and it's a very popular choice. It's owned by everyone from new investors to those who have generational wealth. As of September 30th, 2020, VTSAX holds 3,566 stocks. Now, some of the reason why VTSAX is really such a great diversified portfolio is because their top 10 holdings are all generally considered to be household names. You have companies like Apple, Microsoft, Tesla, Facebook, Johnson & Johnson, who else? Visa, Exxon, JP Morgan Chase. All of these are top holdings in VTSAX and their household names. And they also are industries that are most heavily presented across technology, financial, consumer services, and industrial. Now, just because I say that it's a good investment doesn't mean that you have to take my word for it. But what I can do is tell you why it's a good investment. So usually it's very difficult to label any individual stock or fund as a good investment. But here are the things I look for. It's cost. Anytime you're looking at stocks, there's always an expense ratio. And when you invest in the stock market, you have to be careful to review the terms to make sure that you understand all of the expenses, because you'll end up paying money to have it move between funds and professionally managed. So you definitely want to be familiar with the fees and resist the temptation to kind of move your money around often. So you don't want to give away your investment returns through costly fees. The second thing that I look for in determining if it's a good investment is diversification. Just like in a lot of areas, you don't put all your eggs in one basket. Same thing with the stock market. Diversification, or distributing your investments across many different assets, really allows you to manage your exposure to risk. So even if one of your stocks plummets, or due to a product announcement or market shift, your portfolio is less affected as it's supported by the performance of all the other stocks. So when I think of these factors in particular that I look for, VTSAX pretty much passes the mark on these, which is why I personally like VTSAX, and it's a great way to kind of invest in the stock market and really be hands off, because you know that in order for your investments really to plummet, you would need all of those top holding companies to essentially all hit bankrupt. And the chances of that happening, I just don't see that happening, to be honest. So to talk about the things that is required to actually invest with VTSAX. Now, VTSAX actually does have a minimum requirement, and that minimum requirement is, let me find it, is $3,000. Now, if this is your first time kind of investing in the stock market, you know, congratulations for like looking into the stock market and wanting to have long-term gains. But if $3,000 is a bit too much, Vanguard also offers an alternative fund called VTI, which is composed of the same portfolio. So you can invest in VTI at a much cheaper cost than you can with VTSAX. Now, one of the things I always like to talk about when dealing with stock markets or index fund is that, you know, when I first kind of got good credit score and got all my foundation layer done, and I was really ready to move to the next phase of investing, I thought, oh, well, I could just keep accumulating money in savings. But really, if you put $10 in a savings account and you did nothing else, you just left that $10 in your savings account, that's not going to make money. When you come back to it 20 years later, it's only going to be $10. The difference is investing is that if I were to put $10 or $3,000 into a share, and then 10 years later, that money would have multiplied because the cost of the share today is much higher than it was back then. So I want to give you guys an example. So November 13th, 2015, VTSAX costs, the share of their cost was $50.56 is how much a share costs. November 10th, 2020, a share costs $88.16. So if I look back at 2015, if I were to put a share in 2015, that share today would have multiplied and added value of $37.60 profit to that. So that is why investing is so important, because saving alone is not investing. Saving alone isn't going to stretch your money. It's not going to multiply your money. So that's why, you know, when I started off investing back in 2012, I was investing before, but not as aggressive as I do now. You know, it was really important to kind of understand what it is that I was doing and understand why this is such a good decision, why this is such a solid choice. So again, I can't emphasize enough, and I just really wanted to share this information. One, because I'm an open book, and two, I believe that in order to make sure the next generation is financially stable and financially knowledgeable, it's important that we all do our part to kind of share information like this so that you can see someone who is a normal person, what are some of their financial investment choices and decisions, so that you know that these are things people are doing to get to where they are and how it makes sense. It's simple math, really. So for the next phase of this video, I'm actually going to pull up VTSAX so that you can actually see how it has trended over the past 5-10 years, so that you can see for yourself why, you know, investing is so key and so critical. Okay, guys, in my browser, I have pulled up the market summary for VTSAX. If you just open up your browser and in the search bar, if you type in VTSAX, this is what should come up. And you will see that the current market share is $88.16. But if I look back over the max time, November 17th, 2000, the share was $30.56. And if I look at November 6, 2020, the share cost was $87.23. So over time, it's easily that you can see from 2000 to 2020 how much has grown, and what you want to see is the current trending of it going up makes it more profitable. And if you notice that VTSAX also has a low expense ratio, its ratio is 0.040%. One thing I forgot to mention is that whenever you're buying stocks, you always want to buy it cheap. So whenever there's a dip in the market, such as on March 27th when the pandemic and stuff was shutting down, the cost was $61.76. Definitely, you know, roughly $20 plus cheaper than what it is today. You definitely want to try to buy your shares at a lower cost and then watch it kind of jump and grow over the years. Again, you know, investing in stock is for long-term gain. So now we're going to take a look at the other alternative that I mentioned, which is VTI, which has the same portfolio like a VTSAX, but does not have the $3,000 minimum requirement. And if I look in 2001, share cost was $57.79. And max November 11th, $182.56 per share. So again, if you look at the max trends, you see it climbing up. That is how I expect any stocks that I invest in to do. I want to see that it's continuously to grow, and that whenever I buy it cheap or have started early on, now that you can see over time from 2000 to 2019, we see phenomenal results. So I thought this was worth sharing, so I decided to kind of pull up my browser and demonstrate this. Well guys, I hope that was helpful, and if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Hanford Hacks. And you can also find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. All right, thanks for watching.